Okay guys, what I want to talk about today is a Fenwick versus a Fenwick. And these are both Fenwick fiberglass fly rods. And what we have is a China versus the United States. Now I want to start with the vintage Fenwick right here, which is a S code, which would put this rod produced between 1978 and 1979 at the Woodstream Fenwick plant in California. This rod was produced, I'm guessing, sometime this year in China. It does not have a serial number on it. Both these rods are 7.5 foot. The new Fenwick is a 5-weight. The vintage Fenwick is a 6-weight rod. The vintage Fenwick is a 2-piece rod, and the new Fenwick is a 3-piece rod. I want to start by talking about the reel seats. The new Fenwick has a reel seat that is a uplock, and it has one nut, and it's aluminum anodized is my guess. The vintage Fenwick has a downlock with 2 nuts. It has a jam nut so you can really secure your reel on there tight. I prefer the downlock with the double jam nut. Now the next thing I want to cover is the grips. The grips on both of these Fenwick are cork, and both of them are probably AA cork would be my guess. They both have pits and they both have filler in them. And then moving up the fly rod, I'd like to talk a little bit about the hook keeps. The vintage Fenwick has a kind of a unique hook keep which allows you to hook your fly over the top of the hook keep, or you can hook it from the left side or the right side to keep your fly in place while you're moving. The new Fenwick has a double foot, and it's a wire guide that you can only hook from the left or the right side. I don't really have a preference on which hook keep is the best. Next thing I want to talk about is the guides. The vintage Fenwick has chrome guides, and a stripping guide, I'm guessing, has a ceramic insert in it. Now I'm not sure about that, so don't take that as a gospel. The new Fenwick also has a stripping guide that I'm guessing has a ceramic insert in it to protect wear. The snake guides on both rods are double foot snake guides. On the vintage, they're black anodized, which I like the looks of. The vintage Fenwick has double foot snake guides, which are chrome. The new Fenwick's snake guides, I prefer them over the vintage Fenwick. The tips on both rods are, of course, metal. The vintage Fenwick has a chrome tip, as the new Fenwick has the anodized tip, and it's, just your traditional fly rod grips or tips. The windings on both rods are very good. They're both machine windings, as these are both high production fly rods. They're not custom handmade, hand wound. The new Fenwick has alignment dots on it, which I do like that. At my age, I need all the help I can get. So the alignment dots are a good thing for me. One of the other things I wanted to talk about was Fenwick puts a little piece of, I'm guessing that's rubber in the end of these to protect the joint sections. They also did that on the vintage fly rod, which has a little piece of rubber in it, which I like. The dimensions of these rods are a little bit different in some areas. The grip length on the new fly rod from the end of the reel seat to where the cork ends is 9 inches 850 thousandths. On the vintage Fenwick, same place, end of the reel seat to the end of the cork, is 10 inches 750 thousandths. Don't know that that makes any difference to me. The grip on the vintage Fenwick is a modified Wells grip, as you can see here, and on the new Fenwick it's a full Wells grip, and I don't really have a preference, either one works. The stripping guides on the two rods are different in the ID diameter of the guide itself. On the new Fenwick, it's 325 thousandths ID, inside diameter. On the vintage Fenwick, it's 200 thousandths. I think that the new Fenwick has a little bit of advantage there, with maybe less drag on your fly line. Now, on the tips of the rod, when you measure them just below the winding, it's 80 thousandths in diameter on both rods. Now, the diameter of the rod at the hook keep on the new Fenwick, it's 375 thousandths, and I tried to center on the stripping guide. On the vintage Fenwick, it's 425 thousandths. So you're going from 425 to 80, and you're going from 375 to 80. I do not know what the taper is. I have not worked the math on these, and I'm not going to. It really doesn't make any difference to me what it is at this point. I also want to talk a little bit about the rod cases and the rod bags that come with these two rods. The new Fenwick has what appears to me to be a cotton nylon bag. Has a little tag up here on it that tells you the length and line size of the rod. The tube looks to me like it's a Cordovan, and I don't know if it's a cardboard insert or a plastic insert in there. What it does have, though, that I like is a piece of foam rubber right here, that if your rod bangs around in there, it's not going to damage it. The warranty card is also attached to the outside of the rod, and it tells you, or rod outside of the rod tube, it also tells you it's made in China. It has a nice Fenwick patch sewed on it. Now, the old Fenwick, of course, has a Fenwick decal up here on it, and it's a plastic triangle tube, which is the very vintage Fenwick. And I do like these tubes. Now, my cap has came off the end of the rod tube, and it tells you the length of the rod and the line weight. It has a Fenwick logo on it. The bag for the rod is made out of nylon. It also has a Fenwick logo on it with the rod size and line weight on it. I believe that I really like the bag for the new Fenwick better than the old one, but I do prefer the old triangle tube, and that's just my opinion. Okay guys, there's a couple more things I want to cover on these Fenwick rods here. The vintage Fenwick is made out of E-glass. The new Fenwick is made out of S2 glass. Now, both glasses have some advantages, and I'll let you go do your research on E-glass versus S2 glass. Now, we know that the rosins that they use have changed over the years, and the glass has changed, manufacturing processes. So what I'm going to do here in the future with these two rods is I'm going to take them on a fishing trip. I'm going to use the appropriate line for both rods. The vintage I'll be using a 6-weight weight forward fly line, and the new 5-weight I'm going to use a weight forward fly line on the new fly rod. I'll use the same fly on both rods. I will try and catch a trout on both rods so that I can show you in the following video what these rods, actions, cast, and things like that are. Now, I also wanted to tell you guys that I bought this vintage fly rod off eBay from a guy that his handle on eBay is Jesse Beaner. He represented this vintage Fenwick rod very well. I would say it was almost old stock new, but it had been previously owned, and I think I was the first one to put a reel on it. It had no marks, scratches, dings, pits, corrosion, cracks, rust, or buckles in it. The rod's really nice. I bought this rod off of Amazon. I also want to let you know that I'm not associated with the Fenwick Rod Company in any way. They don't give me anything. I've been fishing their products for many years. My first good fly rod was an 8-foot, 6-weight, 2-piece Fenwick fiberglass fly rod that I bought at a place called a Kittery Trading Post in Kittery, Maine, when I was in the Air Force many years ago and stationed up in New Hampshire. Now, I've enjoyed fishing glass and graphite over the years, but I have not seen a head-to-head comparison of the new glass versus the old glass. And that's what I'm trying to give you. And you know, I'm not a professional at this, and I do want to thank you for giving your time watching my YouTube video, first YouTube video. And with that, I'm going to close for now, guys, and you'll see me on a fishing trip. Thank you.